Alrighty, so first of all, apologies. The fact that this review is a day late, and that goes the same for part number two, where I'm going to be doing it tomorrow instead of today. And that's mainly because I'm still battling this sickness. This has been one of the worst sickness that I have suffered in the past couple of years. In terms of length itself, it's been a week and a half, and I'm still having this on and off fever, and this is why I'm going to get it checked out on Thursday by the doctor. But that being said, in terms of the games in match week number 4. Well, it turns out red card was a big story of this week because in the first 5 games I've talked about, it all featured a red card. And replacement referee was also a big talking point of this week too, although it's not in a good way. And I think we also probably just saw the first Fail Mary game. I thought it was going to happen eventually this season with the replacement referee. And that first Fail Mary game happened in this one between the Chicago Fire versus Montreal. So depending on your perspective, you can say that this might be one of the greatest comeback that an MLS team has done, especially in the last 10 minutes of the game. Or you could say that, yeah, this was indeed a fail Mary game and that, Montreal rightfully got robbed in this game by some of the most egregious referee decision we have seen replacement referee that have made this season. Now, in the first half, it Brady would deny Juan from close range. I wrote Bradley there. I don't know why I write that. So they actually get rid of LU. For a second, I thought, who's Bradley? It's actually Brady, the one that denied Juan from close range. And then a penalty was given to Montreal after VAR deemed Gasper brought down Lucero in the box. I think this was the right call. And this is one of the rare times I say that in terms of how controversial this game is, because you can clearly see that Gasper brought down Kokoro in the box. So Kokoro, of course, won the penalty. He took the penalty and he buries it. So that made it 1-0 in favor of Montreal. And then just 4 minutes later, they got another penalty. And this time it's Socrates, the one that brought down Kokoro in the box. Now, this time, I don't think this was the right call. I think this was really soft in terms of the penalty. There wasn't really much contact between Socrates and Kokoro. But nevertheless, Montreal gets another penalty. Kokoro, who of course won the penalty once again, steps up to take the penalty, and he buries it again. So that made it 2-0 in favor of Montreal. A disastrous start for the Chicago Fire that desperately needed a win. Gutierrez did try to respawn, but he missed wide before Kite first would hits it high from close range. And Chicago started to get into this game. They are desperate in terms of trying to get one back. Ibrahim would then puts it high from long range before Kokoro. We're looking for his hat trick, but he hits it wide from close range. Then I thought Montreal started to take control of this game again. They were looking for the third goal. Shrinier tried to do so, but he puts it wide from long range, and then Ibrahim would miss it just wide from close range. But then on the stroke of halftime, and by the way, stoppage time was also a big story of this. There was 23 minutes of stoppage time combined in both halves. There was 11 in the first and 12 in the second half. That was also a big talking point, and some of them are rightfully so because there were some VAR call that was made. But still, some of these stoppage time lately, I feel like it's been egregiously long, almost as bad as what we see in the World Cup in Qatar when you remember those stoppage time in the World Cup in Qatar, which is ridiculously long. But in the 8th minute of stoppage time, Haile Selassie would score from Shihos to get one back for the Chicago Fire, and it was really against the run of play because up to that point, Montreal were by far the better team, but all of a sudden, Chicago got a goal back. They got some momentum heading in the second half, and they lead 2-1 in this game. And in the second half, Kuipers would hit one right to Siwas, and despite the fact that I thought Chicago had the momentum, there wasn't really much that happened in the start of the second half, which usually when that happens and when the road team is leading, it's always in favor of the road team. And in fact, in the 70th minute, Montreal would get that 2-goal lead back. Is Yankov in his debut with Montreal, he scored here from Martinez to make it 3-1 in favor of Montreal. That's the first career MLS goal from Dominic Yankov. And then Agroni tried to respond for the Fire, but he was denied by Siwas. And then Herbert would hit it right to Siwas before Argoni would had a header that was clear off the line. And this is where we started to see Montreal are hang on for dear life again. And this is the thing that of all, I know all the controversial call will kind of overshadow the fact that this has been a problem for Laurent Courtois team early in the season. I've seen where on the road they've been just kind of hang on for dear life. And I don't really need to say much, as I've always said that when you're decided to do that as a road team, it usually doesn't end up very well. But that being said, with the way that Montreal was holding on, Chicago was pressing to try to get one back, and this is where things get really crazy and where the controversy begins. Well, actually, this the controversy already began in the beginning, but this is where the first big talking point, and that of course is Raheem Edwards getting a straight red in this. Apparently, from what I heard, it looks like it was a violent contact. That's the reason why there was a straight red. It looked like Edwards kind of elbow one of the Fire player, but on the replay I saw it a couple of times, and I just don't really find any evidence of him kind of egregiously elbow a Fire player. I mean, probably he did, and this was doing off the ball situation. You usually do not see those that is being called. And that what's even more egregious is that not only this was being called, but a penalty was awarded out of that. So yeah, that was very debatable, but nevertheless, penalty was given to the Fire, and Gutierrez buries this one to make it 3-2 in favor of Chicago. And then in the fifth minute of stoppage time, this is where more controversy begins. So Hugo Kuipers would score his first career MLS goal from T-Run to make it 3-3 in this game. And while Fire fans were celebrating that goal, Montreal fans were absolutely livid because that probably should have not been a corner in the first place. That goal came off of a corner, and when you look on the replay, it was not a corner. It should have been a goal kick for Montreal. And this is the thing that I always worry when you have a team that either win a corner or did not win a corner, and it's going to come back to haunt the team because they would concede the next play. Well, there you go. So yeah, this is another moment that Montreal fans and especially their players and Laurent Courtois will be absolutely fuming about it. And then in the 7 minute of stoppage time, Seawas would deny Kutsias from close range, and Chicago, they were not done yet. Like they weren't happy to just come from behind to get a draw. They want to win this game and steal all 3 points. And my God, they did it. And they got an assist from the win too, as in the ninth minute of stoppage time, Kellen Acosta just pretty much lobbed this one up. And why not? It was a winning day in Chicago. The wind, they said it was like something like 40 miles per hour. And that wind completely caught Wasp by surprise. I mean, he completely misjudged the path of the ball. And as a result, that went into the back of net. By the way, Chris Brady gets on the assist chart. I think that's the first time that Chris Brady, of course, got an assist, and probably one of the unlikeliest assists that he would get coming off of a goal. But nevertheless, the comeback was complete. It was a 4-3 win for the Chicago Fire, albeit in a controversial way. And the shots in this one, 22 shots compared to 8 that Montreal has, 12 shots on goal compared to 3 that Montreal has. Both teams had 4 shots off target, 6 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that Montreal has. And possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that Montreal has in this game. And while it was controversial, I don't think the Fire would care. I mean, it's been miserable start for the season for the Chicago Fire, and especially of them having so many moments that they this is kind of a moment that they're so used to on the receiving end. So the fact that they're well, not just on the receiving end, but on the other end of getting either robbed by the referee or just blowing big leads. But the fact that they're now on the receiving end and the good end of a crazy comeback, albeit in a controversial way, as I said, I think they'll definitely take it as their first win. But as for Montreal, after the full time whistle, the Montreal player basically confronted with the referee, and then even in the press conference, Laurent Courtois basically sound off in terms of these replacement referee, which that means that he's probably going to get a fine in a couple of days from the disciplinary committee because you get as bad as these replacement referee is. Don Gabbard is not going to let anybody criticizing these things, but I won't be surprised if the Montreal organization would cover his fees, or all their fans will cover the fees for Laurent Courtois because yeah, I do think that Montreal has every rights to be mad about this result. Now that being said, I would say that some of their defending, especially late in the game, and also them kind of bunkering in and hold on to the lead. This is again the thing. You just don't do that when you're the road team and expect things to go wrong. But just looking at of all the calls that gone wrong against them, I mean, yeah, I don't blame Montreal fans and especially Laurent Courtois to be very upset about this overall result. But that being said, moving on into the next game, is DC versus Inter Miami. So this was another game where Inter Miami does not have Lionel Messi in their team. So in the second game, where can Inter Miami pass the test without their talisman number 10? Well, the answer is that they passed the test. Though you got to give credit to DC in this one. They played very well in this game, and I feel like they were a little unlucky not to get points out of this. And especially, this was also another game that had a bit of a controversial call that will leave a lot of DC fans very upset about this resort. But in the first half, I just want to say the audio looked off immediately. Like as soon as I listened to the audio, it just does not sound right, and I just thought, man, Apple TV, come on, you can't have a Fox Sports kind of moment with the audio not being correctly adjusted. They did eventually fix it, which is a good thing to see. But in the second minute, Dahome would hit one right to counter before Santos would hit one right to counter. As I thought DC was on the front foot. They were pushing to try to get the opening goal. Benteke would hit it right to counter. And then in the 14th minute, they were rewarded with their good start when Jarrett Strout would score from Mateus Click to make it 1-0 in favor of DC. And what a golazo this was from Jarrett Strout. Definitely in contention for goal of the week. Calendar would then deny Benteke from close range. It was all DC early in this one. They were trying to push for the second goal. However, as soon as I wrote that, Bono would absolutely uh, rob, actually, who did I wrote? Oh God, this is kind of embarrassing. The fact that I can't read my home thing, and I think it's Campana. Yeah, Campana is the one that was robbed because on the header there. But in the 24th minute, Campana would score either way. So he scored here from Redondo to tie the game up at one apiece, kind of against the run of play a little bit because besides that big chance that he had just a minute ago, it was all DC up to this point. And then Redondo himself also looked to get on the score sheet, but he hits it right to Bono, and you can definitely see the momentum was shifting in favor of Miami. They were looking to try to take the lead. So on the other end, Calendar would deny Benteke as that free kick cross went by everybody there. No one touched it. Those are always ones that are very dangerous for a defending team and especially for a goalkeeper as well because you know you're very unexpected that when a free kick is driven like that and no one touches, you have to make a late reaction. But Calendar does a good job in terms of that. And then Taylor we clipped the post from close range in the first minute stoppage time, and we head to halftime with this game tied up at one apiece. In the second half, Perini would hit one right to counter before Stroud would also puts one right to counter. And again, I thought DC was off to a good start. And oh, by the way, that last chance, it was all because of Miami didn't clear their lines on the defensive end. But as I said, DC, they were pushing early once again to get the lead back. And they probably should have got the lead back in the 70th minute if Benteke didn't miss a free header from close range. So yeah, that's typical Benteke. There's moments where he can score on those headers, and then there's a moment where he does that. I mean, that's just kind of the reason why Christian Benteke is not considered to be one of the best number 9 in the world. Like if he can consistently able to bury those chances, he would be considered the same level as Luis Suarez. Speaking of Luis Suarez, he came on in this game late, and he immediately scored, as he scored here in the 72nd minute from Campana to make it 2-1 in favor of Miami, and this is where the controversy of this game happens. So DC feel like on the other end, they probably should have won a penalty because one of the Miami player definitely looked like he handballed. I think it was Alvarez, the one that looked like he handballed it. And when I look on the replay, I gotta say, there's definitely a shout that DC probably should have got a penalty, and I think a lot of that mainly to do of whether or not if that ball actually hit the knee of Alvarez and bounced into his hand, because we've seen before when that of course happened, it can be interpreted differently. Some people will say it's a penalty, some referee says it's not. But if the ball didn't bounce off of Alvarez's leg and onto his hand, and it just bounced onto his hand straight away, that is absolutely a penalty because Alvarez, when that ball hit his hand, it was in an unnatural position. So yeah, again, I can understand why DC fans are absolutely fuming about this call. They probably should have had a penalty on their own, but instead they found themselves 2-1 down in this game, and then just 13 minutes later they found themselves 3-1 down as he did it again. Luis Suarez, he scored from Gomez to make it 3-1 in this one. I guarantee you that after 2 weeks after how people were saying Luis Suarez is completely washed and he has nothing left in the tank, I guarantee a lot of them are kind of like Homer Simpson in that meme of just hiding behind the bushes because he has been a goal scoring machine that Miami has been almost dreaming that he of course would be. And then in the 90th minute, we also saw a red card in this game because why not? As I mentioned, there's always seems to be a red card in this meeting. This is now I think 5 out of the last 9 games between both of these teams that there's been a red card that is being shown. Though this red card was rightfully shown. I mean, Pedro Santos basically brought down a Miami player that was in on goal. That is a denial of goal score opportunity. And then Alba with hits one right to Bono as Miami was looking for a fourth goal. But in the end, Miami wins this one 3-1. The shots in this one, 14 shots with the 17 that Miami has. Both teams had 7 shots on goal. 6 shots off target with the 5 that Miami has. 1 shot that was blocked with the 4 that Miami has. And possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. So, like I said, for Miami, they passed the test in terms of no, not having Messi in this game, but they still are able to get the win. But for DC, there's nothing to be ashamed of in terms of this result. I think they played very well in this one, and like I said, I think their fans and maybe even Troy Lesay will feel like he was pretty much hard done by the refereeing decision because again, going back to that handball call, that probably should have been a handball, and that probably should have been a penalty in favor of DC, but this is Inter Miami, and again, that kind of call is not going to help the league any favorites in terms of all the conspiracy theories that are saying that Inter Miami is going to get all the call because there's definitely favoritism that is going to give Inter Miami the edge throughout this whole season because after all, they are now kind of the official darlings of MLS, especially after the whole hype of Messi and his friends arriving in this team. But that being said, moving on in the next game is Seattle and the Colorado Rapids. So the Sounders, well, the struggle continues in terms of them being very depleted coming into this game, and they were minutes away of looking like they were going to get all 3 points in a game where I feel like they probably would have stole this 3 points because I thought Colorado, they played well in this one, and they were able to nick it right at the end and to get a draw out of this. So it didn't get started. It didn't start well for the Rapids though because a penalty was given to the Sounders after Rosenberry handballed this one into the box, which allowed Rui Diaz just steps up to take the penalty. Rui Diaz don't miss penalties, and he buries that to make it 1-0 in favor of the Sounders. Rodon then hits one right to Stefan, and this is Alex Rodon that hits one right to Stefan. But the Sounders, they definitely dictate this game early as they were pushing to try to get another. Rui Diaz would post it wide from long range before Navarro would hit one right to Thomas as that was Colorado's first shot. I would also say that this game was kind of maybe a game of two halves where Seattle was the better team in the first half, but in the second half, Colorado took over. Though I think, as I'll mention, it's probably no surprise that Colorado, of course, took over in the second half because of a certain event happened in this game. But in the 30th minute, Navarro would hit one right to Thomas as that was Colorado for a shot. Oh, I already said that. But in the 32nd minute, Arriaga would hit it high from close range. And then on the other end, Fernandez just missed wide from long range in the 34th minute as both teams were pressing for the next goals. Both teams was getting some good chances. Chu would then hit one right to Stefan in the 40th minute. And we head to halftime with Seattle leading 1-0. In the second half, though, the Sounders would found themselves down to 10 men as Josh Atencio gets his second yellow card in this. And I like the fact that the referee decided to play advantage and has the nurse to go back and hand a second yellow card. I mean, you usually don't see that happen very often, but you can clearly see on that foul from Josh Atencio. I mean, that is definitely worthy of a second yellow card and just kind of a silly foul for Josh Atencio too. I mean, when you're on a yellow card, you do not make that kind challenge, and if you're gonna make that kind of challenge, you better win the ball because if you don't, you're going to get a second yellow, and the Sounders were down to 10 men. And things gets worse for the Sounders because in the 65th minute, a penalty was given to Colorado as Reagan brought down Navarro in the box there, which this gave a chance for Mihailovic to tie the game up for the Rapids. But how about Andrew Thomas? He's been a big story for the Seattle Sounders. And I know he's probably not going to be the starting goalkeeper once Stephen Fry comes back, but in case if Fry eventually does retire, I think the Sounders have got a decent replacement in Andrew Thomas because he's been very good for the Sounders in relief for Fry in the first couple of games, and this adds to his unbelievable start by denying Mihailovic from the spot. I mean, it was not really the best penalty from Georgi Mihailovic, but still, Thomas has to guess the right way to make that save, and he did. And that keep this game at 1-0. And this could have easily been a morale diminish for the Colorado Rapids, but give credit to Chris Armas, man. They continue to fight hard to get that equalizer. Vines would then puts one right to Thomas in the 70th minute. The momentum was clearly with Colorado as they were pushing for that equalizer, and the Sounders, which was kind of started to hold on through this 1-0 lead. Bassett would then hits a one hopper right to Thomas, and then in the 87th minute, Colorado finally got their deserved equalizer. And of all player that gets the deserved equalizer, it's Kevin Cabral, the one that gets the equalizer. And I gotta feel bad for Andrew Thomas here because he made an incredible save here, robbing Mihailovic as he pushed that one onto the post. There's just no one was following up that clearance there from the Sounders. I mean, a lot of players were ball watching there, and it just falls right to Cabral. And even though I know Cabral has had some horror miss doing his career, he's not going to miss that one. He easily tapped it in into the empty net to tie the game up at one apiece. And then Calvin Harris looks to steal all 3 points for the Rapids, but he hits one right to Thomas in the 6th minute of stoppage time. And in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one. And the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 8 that the Sounders had, 8 shots on goal for the 3 that the Sounders had. Both teams had 2 shots off target, 2 shots that was blocked for the 6 that the Rapids had. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that the Sounders has in this game. So yeah, again, Colorado, I think they'll be a little bit disappointed that they didn't get all 3 points in this one, despite they played so well in the second half. But still, they were able to rescue themselves a point. And as I said, Chris Armas' team, besides that disastrous that they had against the Portland Timbers on opening weekend, they're getting better and better as the week goes along. But for the Sounders, again, a depleted the squad that they're working with. You can clearly see that they're really struggling in terms of that, and this is where they're really hoping that they can get some of their players back healthy because it's just not been there for the Sounders in these first couple of games because of all the depleted roster that they, of course, have. Now, moving on into the next game, and now we're going to get to the busy Saturday action, starting with Columbus versus the New York Red Bulls. And man, for a game that I thought there was going to be some fireworks in between both of these teams, well, there was definitely fireworks, but only for one team because my goodness, this was not close whatsoever, and I'm very surprised to see how after the Red Bulls have looked so good in the first couple of weeks. My oh my, they were taught a lesson by the defending champion in this game. In the first half, we had some coming together between both teams in the 6th minute, but in the 13th minute, Columbus would take the lead, and who else but Cucho Hernandez? He scored from Yaboa to make it 1-0 in favor of the Crew, and as the half goes along, the Crew continued to dictate possession, and the Red Bulls press, it just did not work whatsoever. I mean, they were trying to press high to win the ball high up the pitch. But yeah, it doesn't seem like that works very well when you face against Nancy ball. But in the 27th minute, Yaboa would pulls it wide from long range, and we head to halftime with Columbus leading 1-0. In the second half, Columbus continued to be on the front foot. They were once again looking not just for the opener, but the second goal of this game. Yaboa tried to do so, but he puts it high from close range. But the second goal finally came in the 57th minute, and it's Jason Russell Rowe. He scored here from Cucho to make it 2-0 in favor of Columbus. And I also note that 65 minutes into this game, the Rebels only had one shot. 65 minutes. It just shows you how dominant that the Crew was in this game. There was a shout for a penalty for the Crew not given after that. But in the 66th minute, it would be 3-0 in favor of the Columbus Crew, as Aidan Morris would score from Zawatsky to make it 3-0 in favor of the Crew. Rossi did try to make it 4-0, but he missed wide from close range. It was just basically man against boys up to this point. And mind you, this is a Red Bulls team that when you look at the team that they put out, it's pretty much the same team that they have put out for the past couple of weeks that got off to this good start. And the fact that the Crew just completely cut them down throughout this game. And you notice I haven't even mentioned Emil Frostberg name at all throughout this game. It just shows you that he was pretty much a non-factor throughout this game, and they did a good job in terms of shutting him down. So that being said, in the 76th minute, Burke missed wide from close, and that actually officially was only the second shot for the New York Red Bulls. And then one of the new guy, Jinger would hit one right to Schultz in the 85th minute, officially the third shot for the New York Red Bulls. But obviously the Red Bulls started to get some more chances, mainly because Columbus looked like they just can put this into third gear and just put this one uh, their foot off the gas with them well controlling this one. And then one other notable event happened in this one is a red card because again, red card seems to be the story at least in these first couple of games, and this time it's Daniel Edelman, the one that gets the red card in this one. Just a silly challenge there from Daniel Edelman, almost a frustrating challenge there from the young kid there that gets a second in yellow. So yeah, in the end, Columbus they win 3-0 in this game against the Red Bulls, and the shots pretty much tells the story of this game. It was not close whatsoever. 13 shots committed for 8 that the Red Bulls had, 2 shots on goal for the 6 that Columbus had, 6 shots off target for the 1 that the Red Bulls had, 3 shots that was blocked for the none that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession that the Red Bulls has in this game. And it's safe to say that Columbus, in terms of the year from them defending their MLS crown, it has definitely gone off to a great start because they're now tied with Miami in terms of the top spot in the East, and they do have a game in hand over Miami as well. So if they can win that game in hand, they're back at the top of the Eastern Conference and in the Supporter Shield race as well. I mean, just to show you how good Nancy Ball is and how one of my concern about Nancy Ball this year is that will team of course eventually she figure out and make some adjustment to figure out Nancy Ball. Well, it doesn't seem like that seems to be the case at least in the first couple of games because Columbus has been pretty much unstoppable at least in the first couple of games of the season. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 4 games as part of this first part, where I'm looking at the first 8 games of match week number 4. But moving on is NYCFC versus Toronto, and boy, did NYCFC need this win badly. I mean, it's been a disastrous start for Nick Cushion's team, and that, in this game, well, it didn't get off to a good start, and that they didn't play a relatively clean game. They got a much-deserved first victory in this game over Toronto FC, and as I said, it did not get off to a great start for NYCFC, as 2 minutes into this game after Insigne tried to chip the keeper here, but instead, it hits it right to Matt Freese. In the 7th minute of this game, Marshall Ruddy would score his first career MLS goal from Coolio to make it 1-0 in favor of Toronto. So this is one of the rare instances where both fullbacks combine in terms of goals and assists. And yeah, it's hard to believe that Jaquil Marshall Ruddy, this is his first career MLS goal, consider how highly he was rated when he came into this TFC team, but also just show you how bad the development has been in terms of youth development for TFC. I really think they have really not the best of Jaquil Marshall Ruddy in the past couple years. And also, this goal came from just a simple long ball. Like this ball was just a lofted long ball there right to Marshall Ruddy, and he buries that one to give TFC a 1-0 lead. And I guarantee you, all those people at Yankee Stadium, oh, you better believe that they're thinking, oh, here we go again. This is gonna be bad, isn't it? But in the 8th minute, Bakura did look to respond, but he missed wide there. I mean, Musa Bakura is just absolutely snake bitten right now. In the 17th minute, Rodriguez puts it wide from close range, and I thought it was a good response for NYCFC. But the question is, can they show that clinical finishing, which has been a problem for NYCFC throughout this season? Well, Bakura looked to try to do so, but remember, Bakura is snake bitten, so he hits one right to Gavron after just a bad giveaway there from Toronto, and then Gavron would deny Fernandez on the top of the arc before Longstaff would head it wide on the other end from close range. But in the 24th minute, after sustained pressure, NYCFC gets the equalizer. And who else but Santi Rodriguez, really one of the only guy that has been producing on the attacking end for NYCFC. He scored here to tie the game up. It was a wonderful free kick there from Santi Rodriguez. And yeah, that ties the game at 1 apiece. Up to this point, the possession was 67-33 in favor of NYCFC. I mean, that's not a bit a bit of a surprise because NYCFC have always pride themselves of dominating the possession. Freeze then almost had a Galese moment in the 31st minute as he basically was trying to kick this one upfield, but Owusu got in the way of this clearance, and fortunate for Freeze, unlike Galese, is that Owusu just could not quite round the keeper and slots into the empty net like Timo Pukki did to Galese. And yeah, that's just a reminder to all goalkeeper that hunt the ball upfield. Don't be be too cute about it. Just punt the ball upfield so you don't have this kind of moments. But in the 38th minute, Gavron would deny Wolf from close for Risa. Only gets a yellow card despite the fact that it looked like he might have committed a denial of goal score opportunity foul there. But in the 3rd minute stoppage time, Bakura would have a header that was put wide before Gavron would absolutely rob Keaton Parks from point blank. And there's no doubt that Toronto is begging for the halftime whistle because NYCFC was buzzing. They were looking to try to take the lead. And then as the halftime whistle was thrown, there was definitely some displeasure that was shown by both teams. There was some coming together as they head to the halftime locker room. Not quite sure who says what that caused that, but we do head to halftime with this game tied up at 1 apiece. In the second half, Benedeschi looked to retake the lead for TFC, but he pulls it wide from long range. And then Risa would headset right to Gavron in the 56th minute. NYCFC again started to dominate the game once again. But the question is, can they show that clinical finishing to take the lead? Well, Rodriguez tried to do so, but he puts it wide from close range. But in the 65th minute, they finally did show that clinical finishing. And of all players that show the clinical finishing, it's Kevin O'Toole scoring his first career MLS goal from Fernandez to make it 2-1 in favor of NYCFC. And not only that was coming, but again, out of all the players that I thought would show the clinical finishing, I didn't think Kevin O'Toole would be the one to do so. But yeah, that made it 2-1 in this game, and it looked like NYCFC is en route to an easy win. But then there was a setback as 2 minutes after they took the lead, Keane Parks would get a straight red here, and rightfully so. I mean, it was a studs up challenge that he committed there. Anytime when you basically commit it's a challenge and it studs up, it's an automatic red card, and they go to VAR to see whether that is the case. It is. So yeah, NYCFC were down to 10 men. Toronto, unsurprisingly, started to control this game and were looking for the equalizer. Akinola would put it wide from close range before he puts it high from close in the 90th minute. Almost forgot that Ayo Akinola is now back for TFC. I mean, I know he spent his time for the Quakes on loan, but it looks like the Quakes decided not to keep him, and I think rightfully so because he didn't even in this game. Akinola even with the chances that he has, he didn't really do a good job in terms of putting those on frame. But we get 11 minutes of stoppage, and that feels like deja vu moment for NYCFC fans because they know that last time when there was like a huge amount of stoppage time, they not only conceded a goal in stoppage time, but they concede two. Or actually, yeah, they conceded a goal in stoppage time to lose the game. I was thinking of another game that they conceded the two to lose, but the good news for NYCFC fans, they didn't do what they did against the Timbers, concede a stoppage time goal, and they hang on to win 2-1 in this one. Shots in this one, 17 shots for the 13 that Toronto has, 3 shots on goal for the 9 that NYCFC had, 5 shots off target for the 6 that TFC had, 4 shots on block for the 3 that NYCFC had, and possession-wise was 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Toronto has in this game. So yeah, for NYCFC, a huge win in this one, and at least it kind of relieve a little bit pressure off Nick Cushing of the bad start that they had. And as for Toronto, it's kind of back into the drawing board for John Herman's team. I mean, they're gonna have these kind of resort as the season goes along. We know that as surprising as this great start has been for Toronto, I do think that it is going to start to slow down, and that they are a team that definitely lack that talent. And while they have done a great job in terms of showing well, I say that they lack that talent. They do have some talent in terms of those two Italian and Bernadeschi and Insigne, but that's if they of course showed up in these games. They didn't show up in this game, so there's no surprise that Toronto didn't get the win out of this. And also, just a reminder, it's a rebuilding year for Toronto. There shouldn't be a lot of expectation other than the fact that I'm pretty sure TFC fans are still kind of overjoyed the fact that they're off to a great start in a season where there was pretty much zero expectation about this team heading into this year. With that being said, moving on in the next game is Boston and the Philadelphia Union. So I said before, the Union, they need a big response in this game after that 6-0 thumping that they took against Pachuca. And in some way, they kind of got that in this one, though. Again, ideally, they would want to get a win in this one against Austin. And early on, it looked like it got off to a great start for Philly, as in the 10th minute, a penalty was given to the Union after VAR deemed ring handball that one into the box, which allowed Daniel Gastex to to score on the penalty spot, and he does just that, as that made it 1-0 in favor of the Union. Stuver then denied Sullivan from close range before McGlynn would hit one right to Stuver in the 26th minute. It was all Union early in this game. They were pressing to try to get that second goal. The first shot of the game for Austin happened in the 37th minute as Rubio puts it wide from close. And then on the other end, Wagner just flashed one wide in the back post in the third minute of stoppage time. And we head to halftime with the game 1-0 lead for the Philadelphia Union over Austin. In the second half, not much really happened in the first 10 minutes of the second half, but that was about to change because in the 56th minute, really out of nowhere, Austin tied the game up. It's Rubio. He scored from Jimenez to tie the game up at one apiece. That's also his first goal for Austin, Diego Rubio. And then 2 minutes later, John Gallagher would score from Alex Ring to give Austin the lead. And just like that, in a blink of an eye, Austin, who hasn't really done much up to this point, they have the lead. And again, it almost kind of feel a little bit carbon copy of the last game against St. Louis, where Austin hasn't really done much, and they've been getting dominated at home. But somehow, in some way, they're able to have the lead at home. But unfortunately, the lead would quickly diminish for Austin in this game, just like the last game against St. Louis. As in the 60th minute, Mikael Uru would score from Ariel to tie the game up at two apiece, and then Stuber would deny Sullivan in the near post. Again, Brad Stuber, he's going to have to carry this Austin team for most of this game because of the way that Austin pretty much just have no attacking threat, and also mostly no defensive uh, protection throughout their defensive line. But in the 67th minute, Martinez would hit one right to Stuvert as the Union was looked to retake the lead. Sullivan would then hit one right to Stuver before Carranza would puts it wide from close range. And then in the 6 minute stoppage time, Driussi looked to steal it for Austin, but he puts that one wide in the 6 minute stoppage time. And in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw, just like the last game that Austin had at home against St. Louis. Shots in this one, 17 shots for the 13 that Austin had, 2 shots on goal for the 7 that the Union has. Both teams had 5 shots off target. Both teams had 5 shots on block, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that the Union has in this game. And well, as bad as Austin has been in the beginning of the season, in pretty much every single game, they've been absolutely second best and dominated by their opposition. Losing games. I mean, it's hard to believe that Austin, besides that loss that they had against Minnesota in the opening weekend, they have not lost a game ever since. And again, this is despite the fact that they have been dominated by their opposition throughout all these games. But that maybe kind of just show you that at least there are still some resiliency that is shown by Josh Wolf Austin side, and also mainly because Brad Stuver are just kind of bailing this team out left and right. But for the Philadelphia Union, again, I'm not sure this was the perfect response for them after that 6-0 drumming against Pachuca down in Mexico. I mean, yes, I know they did show at least some sort of fight back with them going down 2-1. I mean, when they went down 2-1, I thought this is a Union team that looked like they're gonna be just gonna lose once again, because that has to be devastating if you have everything that's gone wrong for you for the past couple of weeks, and now you found themselves 2-1 down despite you being the more dominant team. But at least they show a little bit of resiliency, but just still not good enough in terms of them desperately needing all 3 points because of how bad of a start that they have got in the beginning of the season, which is not a big surprise because a lot of CONCACAF Champions Cup teams or teams that have involved in that competition have gone off to a slow start. With that being said, moving on in the next game is Dallas versus Vancouver. So speaking of teams that's gone off to a slow start, that's the case for FC Dallas. I mean, this is a game where, I've talked about that there's a chance that they can ride the ship, and they did not do that in this game against Vancouver. Early on, Ariola would puts it high from long range as Dallas was on the front foot, but the shots were only 1-0 for Dallas 15 minutes in. That one shot came in the 6th minute. Musa would hit it over from close, and the first shot for the Whitecaps sees goal, hits it wide on a driving header, and really after just once again not getting starting on time for Vancouver, them looking flat once again on the road. They start to get into this game, and we're looking for the opening goal. And they do get it in the 25th minute. It's Laborda scoring from White here to make it 1-0 in favor of the Whitecaps. So that's kind of weird to see a center back gets the goal and the assist comes from the striker. I mean, that's something you don't usually see happen very often in terms of the goal and assist tantrum. But that being said, Brian White would get on the score sheet just 4 minutes later as he scored here from Fafa Pico to make it 2-0 in favor of Vancouver. So Fafa Pico, of course, haunting his whole team by getting on the assist chart. But in the 40th minute, Leggett would get one back from Dallas as he scored here from Fiera to make it 2-1 in this game, only for that two-goal lead to immediately be restored by the Whitecaps just 2 minutes later, as Fafa Pico would haunt his old team now by scoring a goal here from Raposo to make it 3-1 in favor of the Whitecaps. So yeah, 4 goals in a span of 17 minutes. The fans were definitely not on top up to this point. And then Musa would then hit one right to Takuoka as we do head to halftime with the scoreline 3-1 in favor of the Whitecaps. And the funny thing about all those 4 goals that happened in a span of 17 minutes, that actually turns out to be the only goals that was scored in this game. In the second half, Musa would put one over from close range before Junka would have an acrobatic overhead kick that missed just wide, and Dallas was on the front foot once again. They were pressing to try to get one back. The post would deny Musa in the near post before Berhalter would head it wide in the back post, and after Dallas has put some pressure early in this game, I thought Vancouver started to ride out of the storm, and they themselves looked to try to get that 4th goal. And I also thought that Dallas was having trouble in terms of dealing with dangerous ball into the box. One thing I didn't mention in terms of some of these goals that's been scored by the Whitecaps, it's all because of balls coming into the box. They were having a lot of problem dealing with that Dallas that is in terms of those dangerous ball into the box. And in the 70th minute, Musa would miss an absolute sitter in the front post. So that's not a great moment there from Pedro Musa, a guy that we're pay 7 figures to score goals. Well, not even 7 figure, but 8 figures to score a goal like that, and you miss that one before Ibiaga puts it right to Takuoka. And really, as the time winds down, you can see Vanni Sartini, his team is starting to bunker in. And again, this doesn't usually end well for teams. And I was kind of surprised that Vanni Sartini tried to do so because I'm pretty sure he probably saw that Montreal resort and probably learned to not just bunker in and allow Dallas to get at them. Musa would then hits it right to Takuoka in the 81st minute before in the 3rd minute stoppage time, Kamunga would puts it wide from long range, and as the full-time whistle was blown, the Blues rained down at Toyota Park, and rightfully so because Dallas, it's another loss in this one. They have not won a game ever since the opening weekend game against the San Jose Earthquakes, and I mentioned before that game now more look like it's just because of the fact that they were playing against a team that is currently tied for the wooden spoons spot because they have not looked good whatsoever in the beginning of the season. And the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to just 6 that the Whitecaps had. So the Whitecaps were very efficient in terms of the limited amount of chances they had. In fact, all 3 shots on goal for them ends up into the back of net compared to 3 that Dallas had. 7 shots off target for the 2 that the Whitecaps had. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked and Central line 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that the Whitecaps had so far. And while the Whitecaps they haven't really been looking at their best themselves in these opening first couple of games, they're getting reserved, and that's all it matters. And that's cannot be said about FC Dallas, who again with all these talented player and with all these guys are starting to come back into the starting 11. There's really no excuses for this Dallas team to not perform. And this is where if you're Nico Estevez, something's got to change because with how talented that this team has been, they have really underperformed in the first couple of games. So we'll see whether or not if they can turn that around in the upcoming games. But now moving on into the last game on this board. That, of course, is the Houston Dynamo versus the Portland Timbers. And, for the Timbers, after a decent start to the season, well, unfortunately, in this game, when you play so many easy opponent and when you're facing against a Houston team that, I wouldn't say Houston have been decent to begin the season, but, going on the road to face against the Dynamo that's been very good at home and that you feel like this is a first good real test for the Timbers. Yeah, they failed this test. Early on, 3 minutes in, Clark would deny Moreno in the near post, but it recycled to Paredes. But he was also denied by Steve Clark onto the post. So yeah, Steve Clark definitely he had a vendetta against his former team in this game. There was some big save that he made against his former team in this one as well. Mikhail then puts it high from close ranges. I thought it was a lively start to this game as both teams were pushing for the opening goal. Mosquera would then hits one that was actually spilled by Clark, but was gathered, and then Aliu would hits one right to Crapo in the 10th minute, and then the post would deny Aliu from close range in the 32nd minute before Miller would hits it wide from close in the 33rd minute. But then in the 42nd minute, Houston takes the lead. It's Aliu that's the one that gets the opening goal for the Dynamo, but it was kind of a gift because there was a bit of a mix-up at the back between Mosquera and Crapo. They kind of ran into each other, and Aliu capitalized that and buries that one to make it 1-0 in favor of the Dynamo, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half as well. So we go in the second half, and in the second half, Anthony would hit one right to Clark in the 46th minute before Evander would miss an absolute sitter from close range. So yeah, that's one that Evander would love to have back. But there was no doubt the Timbers started the second half the better team. They were looking to try to get the equalizer. Though on the other end, Kalipsik would hit one right to Crapo before on the other end, Moreno would cross it just wide in the 53rd minute from long range. In the 63rd minute, there was a bit of a scramble in the box when the ball was delivered in. There was a scramble in the Dynamo box, but somehow, in some way, the Timbers weren't able to capitalize on that, and there was no Timbers player that was able to connect with that shot. Again, the Timbers they were knocking on the door, but the question is, can they show that clinical finishing? And I think this is a game that kind of shows you why the Timbers desperately need that number 9, and that they're desperately hoping that with the recent rumor of Juan Cita Rodriguez is going to be the guy that will fix their issue in terms of having that lack of number 9 and lack of goal score that can put away these chances. Seagull would then hit one right to Crapo in the 78th minute before Mikael would heads it wide on the header as the Dynamo were now looking like the one to ice this game and trying to get that killer second goal. Though on the other end, Moreno would put it wide from close range before Anthony would put it high from close in the second minute of stoppage time. But in the end, Houston hold on to win 1-0 in this one, and the shots in this one, 9 shots for the 17 that the Timbers had. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 3 shots off target for the 7 that the Timbers had, 5 shots on blocked for the 1 that the Dynamo has, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to the 41% possession that the Portland Timbers has in this game. And I believe this is also the first win for the Houston Dynamo as well. So certainly they needed this win, and they got that exactly. But for the Portland Timbers, I mean, I will say that I don't think this was necessarily a bad game for the Portland Timbers, but this is also a game that just kind of a reminder of why they desperately they need that number 9. And oh, did I say one Capacita Rodriguez? I meant Jose Capacita Rodriguez. I don't know why I said his name Juan when his first name I think is actually Jose. But yeah, this is where they desperately are hoping that if they do get their man, or even if there is still more a lingering rumor about Herman Betarame coming to the Portland Timbers, they desperately need a number 9. They desperately need a goal scorer and a threat on the attack, because so far it's kind of been shown in the first couple of games. I mean, besides that one outburst that they had in the first game against the Colorado Rapids, they haven't really looked that good going for on the attack, especially in terms of their clinical finishing as well. But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at all of these first 8 games from match week number 4. Tomorrow, I of course will do part 2 of the review, looking at the last 6 games, which include 2 of my team once again having contract state kind of season. In fact, both of the team that I root for, I mean, I would never imagine that one of my team would be at the top of the standings in their respective conference, and one of them would be at the bottom of the standing in their respective conference. But I'll talk more about that tomorrow in part 2 of the review. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.